MightyKeef. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. First and foremost, I'm sure y'all can hear. I think I'm getting a lot better though. I'm still a little bit under the weather, right? Which is what has halted some of the skits. Unfortunately, I had to go back and do some audio. But I will have my PS5 Pro skit. Look at me. I'm an old man with dementia. I will have my State of Play skit coming out pretty much within the next few days. Hopefully tomorrow. But anyways, this video is kind of just my thoughts about the whole Assassin's Creed Shadows. If you've followed me on Twitter, you've seen most of my, I guess, ideas or I guess how my thought process works surrounding the controversy of this game and just this topic in general when it comes to like wokeness and or anti-wokeness in gaming. But I wanted to give a little bit of my opinion on this in a video format. Assassin's Creed Shadows, dear players, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a dream project for us, finally bringing the series to feudal Japan with many features developed with our community in mind, such as parkour or the renewed stealth, brought by new technology, all set in a beautiful, immersive world. I mean, parkour and stealth, or it says renewed stealth, but yeah, I saw some of the gameplay of the stealth aspects of it, and it did look fun. That part did look very good. We didn't see too much of like the samurai aspects. It looked very Ghost of Tsushima of what we did see, though. Whether you think that's a copycat or you think it's just, following a formula that works, it's up to you. That's your interpretation. This is an ambitious addition to the franchise, a rich experience that can be lived through the eyes of two unique protagonists, but we realize we need more time to polish, refine the experience, pushing further some of our key features. As such, we've made the decision to postpone the release date to February 14th, Valentine's Day. This game will release on a broad range of platforms, including Steam at launch. Now that's a W. I've always said this, man. I know it sucks, but I know Steam takes a lot of money out of games, but like that is where people go on PC to play games. It just is, right? If something's like an Epic launch exclusive, I always think it's just not going to perform anywhere near what it could have if it just released on Steam. Look at Alan Wake 2. Look at Borderlands 3 initially. These are games that like should be banging, right? And I generally think the one key ingredient is that they weren't on Steam at launch. But hey, anyways. Additionally, pre-orders will be refunded and all future pre-orders will be granted the first expansion for free. Now, on Twitter, they went a little bit more into detail about this, but they don't say it here. That is also a W. First of all, the whole thing's an L. If your stuff is delayed, that sucks. But we can definitely pick apart a few W's in this, right? Overall, it just sucks that it gets delayed. Obviously that means something is wrong. Something is going bad. But for a while, we have kind of tried to like yell at Ubisoft and other gaming companies to just produce quality content, right? Better products, right? Get rid of this microtransaction stuff. This like you pay extra and you get to play 3 to 4 days early stuff. The microtransaction, the season pass. We've all hated that, right? And Ubisoft has been a big advocate of that type of practice, right? On Twitter, it says that they are going away from that model. It doesn't say that here, but on Twitter, in their Twitter posts, I'll show it in a second, it says they're actually going away from that model, which is a W for me because it sounds like they're listening. And I'm hoping more companies do this. And it's not just them, unfortunately. There's a lot of companies that do this whole 3-day early. I mean, Hogwarts Legacy was the same way. If they are, I don't know if that's just for this title. I don't know if that's for all titles moving forward. It could be seen as desperation. I will be honest. It could be seen as like, oh, they really need to get these sales, man. There's so much controversy. There's so much conversations about this game that actually have nothing to do with the actual game that I could understand delaying the game like 3 more months, right? Because it's like, bro, instead of talking about like how is the characters in the game, right? Are they compelling, right? Can I get more mechanics? Can I see more of how the combat's going to be between both the characters in an actual like mission, right? What are the different ways I can approach the missions, right? How long is the game? You know what I mean? Like so many other aspects of the game that should be conversations, but the conversation is usually there's a black guy in my game, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, I think delaying it is actually very, very important right now because now we're hearing that there's like some type of housing in the game where you can create houses like sim-like houses, and that wasn't even explained. And the game's supposed to come out in about a month and a half. But anyways, we understand the decision will come. Disappointing news, especially to those who've been waiting patiently for an Assassin's Creed game inspired by feudal Japan. But we sincerely believe that this is in the best interest of the game and ultimately your experience as a player. Rest assured, we are looking forward to the moment you will embark on a memorable adventure with Naoe and Yasuke. Until then, we thank you for ongoing support. All right, so there's that. Recently, I think they did just put out a tweet saying that they are, if you got a collector's edition and stuff like that, you'll get an update with that and everything soon. Oh boy, Elon, you gotta do something with Twitter, man. This thing is not loading properly at all. But let's talk about that because, obviously, there's a black man as a samurai in this game, and that was kind of one of the things that you were either okay with or you thought was seen as pandering. Pandering absolutely does exist in almost every aspect of capitalism, right? Whether it's towards the games or towards movies or towards anything at all. People are going to try to pander to someone if they see a dollar sign come in, or for investors or whatever, as I said. The issue is a group of people will try to weaponize that idea. That is true. It's a true idea, right? They'll weaponize that and make it seem like it's casted much wider than it actually is. Every time you see a black person in a video game, it's not pandering. Every time you see a woman or homosexuality or just anyone that's not like a straight white man, it's not always pandering. So there's two ways you can have this conversation that I'll see play out. One, immediately calling it woke. And when that happens, it's usually you're just ignorant, right? Then two, people that are skeptical, right? Which is fine. And then waiting for more information, maybe even waiting until the game is released, to actually cast their idea of if this is or is not woke, right? And the way those people go about it is you look for information, right? You'll hear YouTubers or other content creators talk about what's happening behind the scenes. And a lot of times, a lot of that stuff is just misinformation, right? Then there are times there may be a little bit of it is true, but then the creator or the person will expand it to make it look like it's much more than it is, right? So it's if you hear that, if you hear sharks bite 57 people a year, right? Instead of hearing that from the creator, you'll hear, sharks kill people, right? Sharks kill people, guys. Stay away from sharks. It's just yeah, you probably shouldn't be swimming next to a shark, right? But you understand how it's okay, in reality, that is kind of an irrational fear for the most part if you go to the beach, because sharks only bite 57 people on average per year, right? So the chances are you're not going to get bit. But that's just a little example of what I mean by some people will take a stat or possibly some truthful information and expand it to make it something worse than it is. And that's a lot of times what happens with this woke nonsense. And that's my biggest pet peeve with this topic is that it's just a lot of it's just disingenuous, right? And what it does is it removes the real conversation, right? And it removes actually finding the real bad people. Because again, like I said, there are definitely companies that will pander to it. And it's good to call out pandering. It's not good to say everything is pandering. I wanted to highlight this tweet. Now, this person, there are times that people will try to let me get a gotcha, you know what I mean, to see it. And a lot of times it doesn't really work. And that doesn't mean this person was doing that, by the way. I looked at this person's tweets after they made this comment, and they weren't trying to gotcha. They were actually just trying to figure out who is part of the extremist parts of the left or the right or whatever you think is woke, what is anti-woke. And that's very fair, by the way. That's very fair. Because both sides have extremists that, should not dictate the political landscape of what's going on, whether it's in real life, it's gaming, whatever. So this is a completely fair question, right? But he basically says, hey, Keef, right? If a Latino or Asian character was made as playable in an African setting, game setting with context, would you be upset, adopted, left behind, kidnapped? And I told him no. I actually like stuff like that. It kind of allows you to see different perspectives of the story, seeing through the adopted person's lens and the native person's lens, right? And, this Del Walker actually, put out, I never actually knew that was the name of the genre, which is a fish out of water story, which is, like I said, right? It gives room for interesting dialogue and backstory. I actually like stories where there's a protagonist that is not native to the land and it takes place in. As long as the native protagonist that has a contrasting perspective to the foreigner, it sounds good, right? Because like that's where the story becomes good. Is if you have multiple perspectives. If it's just like the foreigner trying to figure out this land, that's cool, but it's always better to have someone who is native. And a lot of people brought down some examples, like of course Upasan said Resident Evil 5, which is true. You had a white man, Chris, and Shiva, who was a native African, and then of course PS3 360. I'm sorry, PS3, PS360 HD2 said, of course, the Black Panther comics, and there's a lot of there's already a lot of examples for this type of story. So when Assassin's Creed Shadows did the exact same thing, in my head I was like, cool, you got Yasuke, who is this adopted person. You get to see the perspective of an African who was actually not probably, who was enslaved by these Japanese men, who then became samurai, or he became a, what's it called? What's the other thing they're called? I don't know. The other one where it's not a samurai, but it also is. I don't know. I forgot what it's called. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But also you have Naoe, right? Who is the native Japanese person, can tell her side of the story, right? And when that happens, I can't in good conscience call that pandering, because that is a already like structured storyline or structured story that has happened for many years in different novels, different movies, different shows. Now, if this was in Assassin's Creed Shadows in feudal Japan, and the main character was a black man, Yasuke, right, with no other Asian input or Asian perspective, I would be like, that's weird. That's a little strange. Why is there? Why didn't you? Why are you finally putting this in Japan, right? And the only main character is a black man. That's a little strange, right? It's like, this story could have been told somewhere else, right? I kind of wanted to see a story, with an Asian perspective, but that's not the case. You see what I'm saying? Even then, even if that had happened, I could be like, okay, well, yeah. I can understand where people are going where it says pandering, but that's not the case. That's not what happened, right? You have Naoe, who is the native Japanese person. So I can't come to many logical conclusions as to why people are just like erasing that fact, outside of just like they don't want to play as a woman, which apparently that's the truth. Because Ghost of Yote just came out or announced, and boy, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, it just sounds like people didn't want to play as a woman or a black guy, and that's just like, what else can I really extrapolate from you saying something like that? I would even say if it was mainly about Yasuke and Naoe, the native Japanese, was like a secondary, like you know what I mean, like a not even co-protagonist, but like side protagonist, right? As in like they focused more on Yasuke and then it was Naoe. But it doesn't even look like that's the case. It looks like they're both gonna have equal what's it called, relevancy, right? If anything, now Naoe looks like she's gonna be more important, because that's where the story started off with. She's the one that was like, oppressed. Her village got destroyed and all this, and it looks like Yasuke, right, is a slave at this point, slave/samurai, by the main villain, Nobunaga, I forgot his name. He's in Samurai Warriors, bro. I don't know if anyone plays the Dynasty Warriors spinoff Samurai Warriors. I play the character every time, but he was also a real person, obviously, and he was a villain, a big baddie in Japan. And for whatever reason, he's calling the shots and making Yasuke do some bad stuff. So it seems like it's actually mostly Naoe, who is the native Japanese person. And then, of course, later on, you'll have Yasuke as like the co person. So I'm like, bro, I'm even trying to make like logical sense out of this. But there's none. It just boils down to, you don't want to play as a woman or a black person. And like, if that's how it is, that's how it is. But like, say that. Don't just make it look like, I don't know, like it's pandering. That's not pandering. The actor of Ghost of Yotai is like a super hardcore leftist, and people are upset at that. Well, I'm sorry. There's certain people are upset at that, right? I haven't read everything that she said, but it seems like it has absolutely no correlation with the actual video game. It's just her own personal beliefs that she's putting out. And my thing is, as long as you're not saying like you're harming anyone or doing anything illegal, Say whatever you want. It's whatever. People have the right to criticize you, but at the same time, like you trying to make it seem like this woman's political opinions somehow reflect how the game is going to be is absolutely silly. There's no logical reasoning behind that. She has no creative input in the game's development or the combat system or the story writing or anything, right? She is just the actor, and people wanted someone who looked like her or who acted like her. That's it. But anyway, she's been on a mass blocking spree, and a lot of times with like I guess big actors or voice actors or people, um, they have like assistants and things like that that actually run the social media. Now I don't know if that's the case with this, but everyone apparently talked about getting blocked like on the same day, which leads me to believe that like there's third party stuff that allows you to like massive block people who say like certain word. Like she might have blocked people who say I don't know the word woke. You know what I mean? I don't know or anything like that. Because obviously this guy got hit with a stray, right? And he said that he was trying to defend her. So it's that's the reason why I think that that's probably what happened is that she was probably blocking a bunch of people who seemed like they were saying woke or having a conversation that she didn't really want to be part of. So she just preemptively blocked people, which is completely fine, by the way. Everyone does it. Right? That's completely fine. If you are having a conversation with somebody or a debate with somebody and you want to block their opinion, I don't think that's good. But if you don't want to even be part of conversation and you preemptively block people from dragging you into a conversation you don't want to be in, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Now you can get upset about it, but there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong on her side. You can still be upset, I guess. But yeah, if she was on a debate or something and she started blocking people because like she just didn't want to hear their opinions after she like engaged in a debate, then that's different, right? That's different. But that doesn't seem to be the case. But anyways, yeah, I just thought that was a little funny. I don't think it's gonna have any bearing on the game. I think Ghost of Tsushima was a god tier game. I'm playing it for my second time. Played it first time on the PS4. Now I'm playing the director's cut on PS5. Playing the DLC now because I never played it, and I think Ghost of Yokotei is gonna be god tier. Anyways, boys, that was it. And skits coming on my next channel, on my main channel. Oh my god, y'all been killing it too. Been going crazy. Got like 5,000 subs in like a week or something like that. Y'all are insane. All right. Anyways, I love you. Goodbye.